Well, now let's turn to Martin Brechbiel, MMR, for his Scratch Building Corner. Martin, welcome.
Evening, Jim.
How's it going, Martin?
Oh, I'm almost conscious.
Good.
Uh, though it may be hard to tell at times. Uh,
I hear that publication you edited, the O Scale Annual, is on the street now.
yeah, I'll come back to that. If I don't, remind me, or if I fall asleep while I'm talking, wake me up.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on, there you go. Okay. Well, we actually finished our project last week, so got to start a new project. This is something that happens in my shop almost every week. I start a new project because I have 5 or 6 going simultaneously. So something's always ending. So something's always starting. Uh, Even if there's no room for it, sometimes I'll start two and I'll have two running on the same workspace. Makes for a little bit of chaos, but keeps me honest. I have to actually pay attention to what I'm doing then. So what we're going to do? Well, we're going to build one of these things or something like it. A winch car. You have to be careful how you say that now. Get the right vowel in the word. It's a winch car. So there's an article that was in the Gazette, Narrowgauge Shoreline Gazette. I don't remember. 88, 89, 90, 91, somewhere in there. I only know that because that's roughly where I've been scanning things in. And I thought, oh, that looked interesting. Maybe I should try to build that someday. So we'll make something like this. It probably won't make exactly this by any stretch, but it'll something along these lines. Okay, so it's on page 38. So, that should narrow it down a little bit. Okay, but where do you start on this? And actually, it's kind of obvious. You start with a winch. And Crow River makes these kits. I don't know what they cost nowadays. This was sitting in a drawer in my shop, waiting for an excuse to come out and play. Uh, but this is all one of those lovely little pieces, bag full of white metal parts and some instructions and some styrene and some other odds and ends. And very interesting and fun to build. You do have to pay attention to the instructions on this, actually. If you're careful, you can build something that looks like this. And it goes together. There's styrene I-beams underneath of it, which you stack up, and then you put all these sub-assemblies together. And the trick to this, putting this together, is very, very carefully, you have to think ahead quite a bit and start at one end. And the important thing here to do is get the motor set somewhere back as far as you can on the supports as the instructions describe, but then you have all the room necessary to put all the gears in so they all mesh together. And the other tip that they don't actually give you in the instruction is pre-paint everything as you assemble. Otherwise, you're never going to get this painted nicely or even decently. And this is about as good as I've ever gotten one of these, but it'll have to do. And obviously, it's far, 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 far too clean. But we'll come back to that eventually. They even give you the cord for the winch cable. So, you wrap that around, glue that on, wrap it around, and wrap it around carefully. And it won't stay there because it's not coiled to that shape. So every now and then you wrap it around, put a drop of CA on it, hold it in place, come back and wrap it 5 more revolutions. Tedious, but it gets it done. Okay, so we need a car. We need a flat car to put this all on. So it's the standard flat car. I'm just going to keep dragging out the standard flat car over and over and over. But Okay, so the underbody's not done yet, but top side, we've got some code 125 rail, weathered nickel silver rail. Actually, it's not, looks like a wire wheel hit the one end of the one piece over there, but we touch that up with some various paint and weathering stuff later. But that just gets glued down onto the wood deck. That's board by board decking. It's 3x stock. But that just gets glued down with some goo on the rail, take it back off, put a little CA on it, put it back in place. It's not coming back off. So that sets that. That also adds a little bit of weight to that end of the car, which is going to need a little bit of weight. But the other point about building the winch first is you need to know how big it is. And the size of the winch determines the size of the enclosure that goes around it. So if you start and build your enclosure first and it's too small, you've made a mess. So build what goes inside, test fit it, and say, well, I need to build something about this big that wraps around it. So there's the code 125 rail. I just happen to have a couple of pieces of it laying about still in my shop from when I did my layout. Someday I'll run out of the stuff. So let's build our enclosure. There's some 2x4s and some 4x4s just glued together, and that's the back wall. That's the beginning. It's the width of the car. So the car dimension sets the wall dimensions. I don't, measuring is something you can do, but you don't have to sometimes. You just look at stuff. The car width is set by the car bolsters. Seems a little strange, but that's a determining width. So the car width then sets the back wall dimensions on its width. And so we take flesh that out a little bit. We have two side walls, the back wall, and all the little cross braces put in. Fun with your chopper, your scalpel, what have you, and some glue and tweezers, and putting it all together on a glass surface. And there it is. There's your three walls. You need to put them together, of course, though, which is pretty easy. They drop right into place on top of the car where you left the open space. And you put a couple extra sticks here on the front to trap this cross member, another stick above it on each side, and that puts the double cross member across the front, which then supports some rafters. And that's just more 3x stock, just like on the decking. Well, as nice as that might be to look at, it's kind of impractical at this point. But there's the roof. The rafters just sit there. There's only 4. And we'll just have to close that all in. And this is a bunch of the Western red cedar siding, strip wood, sorry, Western red cedar strip wood that I got from Kapler years ago. And it's a little bit rough. And it's got some nice warpage to it. It's rough cut. It's not clean like the normal basswood. You can see saw marks in it and teeth marks where it's been cut up and everything. And that gives it a little bit of character. We just add some small strip wood over the joints. We make our own board and batten siding all the way around front. Close up everything. Now we've got a place to park our winch that's out of the weather. And putting it in there is not hard. It just takes a sizable hemostat or giant tweezers or whatever. Or if you've got tiny little tentacle fingers, you can just grab it and put it in there. I don't, so it's the hemostat. And that's where we're going to stop this week. So we're prepped on the car body. We've got our winch made. Now we have the rest of the car to take care of next week. Well, actually, not next week. Let me think here. On the 29th. I'll be back.
29th. That's exactly right. Unless, of course, you want to show us some of your modeling next week in the My Bill. We would
Oh,
appreciate that too.
it's already been sent in. It's a completely different car.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions for Martin while he's still awake? Martin, thank you so much. You want to talk about the annual at all?
Oh yeah. Thank you for reminding me. See, I knew you. I need to prime you to remind me. It's out. Or well, okay. My issue has arrived. Being the editor, they send me a couple directly from the warehouse, but it's out. They should be shipping it to everybody else soon. I hope. Please stop asking me when is it going to ship. The answer is soon. But one thing that's you got to remember, this thing doesn't say. Oh, it's down here at the bottom. It's $34.95. But if you pre-order it, I think before the end of this month's out, it's $30. So save yourself $5. If you want to get it, save yourself $5 and buy it now. That's the best I can help you with on that. But the first one is done.
Congratulations. Thank you so very much.